Hey everyone, welcome to episode 46 of AI GTM Talks. My name is Iyer. Super excited to have an amazing speaker today. We're going to be discussing a topic that a lot of people are excited about, which is wide coding for go-to-market. So I'm going to quickly bring up the topic. And of course, we're going to kick off with some introductions here. Dave, will welcome Dave to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yeah. Dave, let me first explain to the audience, what this show is about. We've been doing, this is episode 46. We kicked it off early last year. We bring on either, really AI GTM tech CEOs who can go deep dive into specific areas. We bring on GTM leaders, revenue leaders who are transforming, GTM at their companies using AI. And then, of course, we also bring on experts, practitioners. And I know from what I know about you, Dave, I think you could fit in, in more than one category. So excited to have you here. Um, Maybe we can start, if you can explain to people a little bit about your background and, how, and why, this whole topic is close to your heart.
Sure. I think the easiest way to do it is to start way back at the beginning, and you'll see why it's relevant in a second. But I got my start in New York City as a copywriter, working for some of the biggest ad agencies in the world on some of the most boring accounts in the world, like Microsoft security software in the year 2006. You couldn't be more dry. And so what
Okay.
they trained me to do is to
Yeah.
learn how to create a connection with people through marketing, how to actually take something that's really boring and dull and make it interesting to them and really figure out what the person on the other side is thinking and how to connect with them. So that was my foundation. I came out to Silicon Valley in about 2012, where I moved client side, working for various tech companies in marketing capacities, most recently as the VP of marketing at Stamply, a 300-person fintech in the accounts payable space. And that taught me how B2B marketing and sales works from the inside. And obviously, it's a strategy, it's a dance, it's an orchestrated event. It's also a lot of luck and a lot of fuzziness, and you got to work with both of those. And then I've actually been working with AI companies since 2016. It's actually how we met. The CEO of a company called Drishti, which was one of the first AI computer vision companies in the manufacturing space, introduced us. Forever. I guess it's 10 years ago now. Geez. Anyway, so when I think about it, it's a Venn diagram, connecting with people, understanding marketing and sales, and kind of having been on the edge of AI for 10 years now. It led me to build this thing that I'm calling InterPitch. And what InterPitch is doing is bringing together everything that I've learned and letting me scale it for the first time. So back at Drishti, we were selling into manufacturers. And before you go to a manufacturer, you need to know what they make. You need to know the pedigree. You need to know everything about them, because who they are tells you what they buy. And the example I'll give you is there could be two factories side by side, a Japanese sprocket factory and an American sprocket factory. And just by virtue of knowing that, they're going to have two very different sets of problems, two very different sets of buying cycles. Even if they're making identical stuff, even if their assembly lines are exactly the same, just that knowledge of where they come from and what they means the world to the sales process. I could spend a week prepping my salespeople to understand everything they need to understand, to write the messaging, to use words Kaizen, in the Japanese factory and Lean in the American factory. But that was not scalable. And so what I've discovered is AI lets me scale that skill to find the right accounts and arm the salespeople with everything they need from that first conversation all the way through closing the deal.
Yeah. So, Dave, I really wanted to now move the discussion a little bit to the topic, right? Which is there's a lot of hype, a lot of chatter around vibe coding, and especially vibe coding for go-to-market. Help me understand and help the folks listening understand, to you, what does it mean to vibe code a GTM system, and how is it different from just writing emails using ChatGPT?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think vibe coding probably got the wrong word attached to it because vibe sounds like it's frivolous and spurious and in the moment.
Yeah.
What I think it is telling an AI system how you think and
Hmm.
helping it understand how you reason, and then asking it to automate that for you. And so, I built lots of Python, lots of other things in the back. I mean, Claude has built that for me. I don't really know how to code. I do know how to tell Claude how I think, and it's been a long
Got it.
process to learn how to tell it how I think. But the difference between something that you've coded and ChatGPT is ChatGPT doesn't know why you're doing something. The whole
Hmm.
purpose that I see of vibe coding is so that it knows why it's doing the activity that it's doing. And if you can teach an AI why it's doing something, it can self-correct and it can get you a better
Got it.
output.
Got it. Got it. Because just to give some context to the folks, watching, I know the way you and the team here at Quanzu and we are collaborating is, as you know, right, we offer these signal-based pipeline growth solutions into SMB, mid-market customers. And then as you go into all these customers, many of them have challenges around how do you reach and engage and get responses from, these prospects that are really hard to get a hold of, right? I mean, they're selling 50K, 100, 250K ACV, large big ticket deals. They're trying to move deals from a stage one to a stage two. There's a lot of nuance to how you need to reach and engage those prospects. And that's something I know you've developed a lot of expertise at Inner Pitch around, right? The whole one-to-one personalized outbound messaging, message sequences, on and on. So I'm just putting that context for folks who are listening as to how you and I kind of are collaborating and working together. But that said, and what I liked was that you said, "Hey, I literally have dived deep into AI, and I've really, you've got this amazing marketing background. Now you're building stuff, right? So that's what this whole show is about. So let's keep going. So I wanted to understand. So explain to the audience why GTM, particularly, is a good domain or topic area for vibe coding as opposed to, say, product development, engineering, finance, other functions. I think you had some interesting viewpoints on that.
Yeah. Well, I think the every time I've gone into a new company,
Yeah.
I've looked at the CRM and kind of gotten a little headache and walked away because you always have terrible, terrible data in your CRM. Doesn't matter if it's new or if it's old. Like the CRM is a disaster. But that's
Yeah.
actually the fact of go to market is we have to deal with ambiguity. We have to deal with
Yeah.
bad data, human emotions, all the messiness of the real world. But that's where actually AI can really help because AI
Mhm.
can reason through all of the messes that we're seeing in order to extract some sort of narrative.
Mhm.
Obviously, you don't want bad data in your finance, in your ERP. That's a
Yeah.
disaster, but it is in go to market. And so having tools that can make sense of messy data and the messiness of the real world, and if you train it right, it could read between the lines and do reasoning and infer
Mhm.
what's going on. So one of the things that I've been happy to see my system do is like read what the CEO says in an earnings
Mhm.
call and then infer what the problem is. The CEO
Mhm.
never says, I have a cash flow problem. They use euphemisms, they use words that don't scare Wall Street. But if you parse it, you can find out what's really going on. That's
Mhm.
where AI is super helpful for go to market because you have all these clues out there, all these little tea leaves. And if you can build a system to read them, then the rest is really easy.
Right, right. So obviously, I know this show is not just us, you and I talking, right? I think you also have some things you want to show because you've been building stuff. So, um, did you? Should we set some context? What exactly are people going to be looking at, and maybe
Yeah,
we can then get into it. Yeah.
sure. So when I run a demo for my customers, I'm going to do exactly what you see here, which is I
Yeah.
put the name of your company in. I ask you to tell me the name of someone you're trying to target or somebody you already know. My system's
Mhm.
going to go out and do a bunch of research on them and figure out, do they have BANT, meaning do they have buying authority? Do they have a need? Do they have a timing? Uh,
Mhm.
what makes them tick at a personal level, at a professional level, and at a psychological level? What
Mhm.
should you say to them to get their attention? So what I'm
Mhm.
going to do is share my screen. I'm going to start the AI. I don't think we need to go through the demo slides. I'll unshare, and then in about 5 minutes, I'll reshare, and we'll see what it comes up with. So
Got it.
where did my screen go? There it is. It's never easy to share your screen.
Mhm.
Okay, good. So hopefully you're seeing that. So I've
Yeah,
got it all prepped with Kwanzu. Now, what
yeah.
I need you to do is tell me the name of the person you want to research. And just for the audience at home, I have not prepped this in advance. I don't know who's going to tell me, but my system will go out and do all its magic fresh. It's kind of like a magic trick.
Got it. Um, okay, let's see what you can find out. This is a good friend of mine. I'm not pitching to her, but let's just see what it comes up with. So put in if you can, Caddy. That's Kady, uh, and last name is Srinivasan, Srinivasan, and
Yep.
she is currently at a company called Freshworks. Uh,
Yep. Whoops, I can't even
and
spell.
Freshworks, and then
Yep.
yeah, she's
I'll just get her LinkedIn.
joined exactly.
Great.
She's
And what was her job title?
I believe it's a CMO. You can
CMO.
check that.
Perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I assume it's
Freshworks.com.
freshworks.com. Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's going to run for about 5 minutes.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think you want me to go through my slides unless you want me to, but we can keep the conversation going if you'd like.
Yeah. Let's keep the conversation going, but at a high level, I think you're gonna show people something really cool, right? That comes out because
Yes.
we are trying to target, let's say, a CMO at a mid market company, larger upper mid market company in this case. We are Quanzu. We're offering the signal based tech solutions, and we want to be able to do highly personalized messaging out to the CMO there. So that's the
Hmm.
scenario, and we'll come back to it. Let's just
Great.
keep going. So my next question was, there's a lot of talk in go to market around signals, around data, and I know you think of them as two different things, right? And so there's cold, right, prospecting data, account data, contact data. There is so-called signal data, which is really in-market buying signals. Could be on your website, could be off your website, person level intent from across the web. We call it offsite intent in our case. There could be social signals coming from LinkedIn, who's posting on a particular topic. How do you think about all these different kinds of data and what people are spending money on, and how should people be thinking about it in terms of you know how to generate ROI out of their
Yeah,
investments?
I mean, data is valuable. It's isolated data points. The signal to me is what they mean. And the
Right.
example I'll give you is one of the companies I found for one of my prospects. My prospect is accounts receivable. Excuse me, my customer is accounts receivable, order to cash sort of thing. Problems with collecting money, not paying bills,
Hmm.
collecting money.
Yeah.
We found a company for them where the data point was they have a new CEO, a CFO, starting
Yeah.
on April 1st.
Hmm.
The signals, though, were coming from the fact that their cash flows collapsed from some hundreds of millions to some single digit millions, that their day sales outstanding went up from 300 million to $2 billion, or whatever the fact was. And when the AI looked at all these data points together, it put together a story of a company where they had built a new order to cash system. It failed. It cost them $30 million. That was buried in their earnings reports. Their cash flow plummeted. Their receivables shot up, and now we know what this new guy's coming in to solve. So we went from a couple of isolated data points, and a good salesperson would have been able to put those dots together if they had all the time in the world to do all the research. But they didn't need to, because we showed up, dropped it in their lap, and we said, "This is the perfect customer for you." And we looked at, let's say, 1,000 of their target accounts. If we can find 10 of them who are showing signals like this every week, that's 1%, but 1% compounds very quickly. And that's the difference to me.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's how you think of data and signals. So let's keep going. So um, there's a lot of people offering AI SDR tools or outbound tools, and they're building all kinds of messaging, capability in there using AI. And then the standard complaint out there is a lot of this messaging is really, really bad. It's AI slop, so to speak. People don't respond, they don't engage. Um, what do you think makes for good message personalization? What does good really look like? when it's
Yeah.
actually working.
Yeah, so I contrast that with tokenization. Tokenization is just putting in little bits of trivia that you've gathered,
Mm,
and it doesn't do anything better than like a mail merge. Hey, Dave, you're
mm,
the VP of marketing. You went to Syracuse University. Let's take a meeting. That doesn't show that you know anything about me. People, this is what's changed in the world since I got started in terms of marketing and sales is it's gone from trust and relationships to numbers games, and all of the
mm,
sales tech that we see out there, it's designed to scale our numbers, but it comes at the expense of trust. So I've been at companies where we have an army of 50 SDRs and 50 AEs who don't know a thing about the people they're calling. And when you
mm.
happen to get somebody on the phone, how are you going to connect with them if you don't know who they are and what makes them tick? So personalization is not about trivia. It's about answering the question why. It's about what's happening in this person's world and this person's brain, and how do you connect at that level as opposed to the level of trivia. So that CFO I was just talking about at that company with all these problems, if the email says, hey Bob, congratulations on the new CFO job, would you like to talk about order to cash, delete immediately. But if the
Mm.
email says, you've got quite a headache ahead of you, here are the implications of the 5 things you have to deal with and what you should be looking for over the next 6 months as signals to fix it, that could only be written for that person. And if it can only be written for that person, then it's much more likely to land and to resonate than, hey, Dave, you went to Syracuse.
Gotcha, gotcha. No, that makes sense. So obviously, I know you've done a bunch of work in that area. So let's get into. um, I think I wanted to kind of go on to the next question, which is um, a lot of the GTM teams, right? They tend to do this, which is they get the AI to do the drafting piece of these kinds of messages. Then people go in and do some editing, right? Can you talk about is that the right way for people to execute on these kinds of, call it, more deeply personalized campaigns, or
Mhm.
um, is there a different approach? What should be the role of the human versus what should be the role of AI?
Yeah, good question. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. If you put an email, if you ask ChatGPT to write an email and doesn't understand the context and the purpose, it's just going to write a generic email that you have to work on. If
Hmm.
the AI understands why you're doing something and you really, really button down the process of reasoning that it goes through. And by the way, one of the things that I think is critical is to stop thinking about it as a prompt and start thinking about it as a prompt sequence. You have to take the
Hmm.
AI through a logical step of a logical thought process. Do this first,
Hmm.
do the research first, then do the synthesis, then compare it with this other thing, and then bring this other data point in there. And you have to take it very methodically through all these steps to get to the point where you say, now write the email. And if you've done
Hmm.
the right, when the email comes out, it's perfect.
Hmm.
It's not to say that you shouldn't spot check it. The way I do is I make sure I spot check it and tweak and turn knobs along the way. But at the end, I can't. So I actually asked AI. I came up with a great metaphor. Uh, you want your chef to design the menu and train the kitchen staff. If your
Hmm.
chef has to taste every dish before it leaves the kitchen, then your chef is not doing a good job. And that's the way I
Right.
see it too. So you have to trust that you built a process that will have a superior outcome. And if you don't have a superior
Hmm.
outcome, you don't tweedle the outcome, you fix the process.
Got it. Got it. Got it. All right. So is that little thing we kicked off? Is that come back? Do we have
It
anything to show
has.
yet? Or
Yeah. Yeah. Let's
okay.
see what it
All right.
says.
All right. So, folks, just to recap for people who may have jumped in now, we gave Dave the name of the CMO at Freshworks. He's a good friend. So we said, hey, let's say Kwanzu wants to talk to her about signal-based pipeline growth solutions. We want to have a conversation around that. I think, Dave, you put in the Kwanzu domain, you put in Freshworks, you put in her name, her title, and that's it. So let's see what you got.
Yeah. So to give you a sense of what just happened, and this is what I would have explained in the slides if we had wanted to bore our audience.
Right.
My system was pre-trained with information about Kwanzu. It had already gone out and I taught it how to think about Kwanzu as a seller and how to think
Yeah.
about what it wants to know about its buyers. So then it went out and it did a bunch of factual research about Freshworks, about Katie in particular, about the
It's Caddy.
trends, Caddy, excuse me,
It's
Caddy,
Caddy. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, about the trends in her industry, about the competitiveness, about the news the company's released, where they are, and then to reason about it, just like a human would if a human had time to do this for every single lead. Well, now that I know all these facts about her, what does that mean for her mindset? What does that need for her need? And how do I, as a seller, meet her at that need level instead of at these trivia level? And so that's what you're going to see. So we're going to start with facts. I'm going to break this into 4 parts. You've got intelligence, what we learned about her. Then you'll have a BANT analysis, meaning is Freshworks a good target for you? And it'll be honest. I don't know what it's going to say. It may suggest that you should be selling to them, maybe not. Then it'll be about how Caddy thinks, and then it'll be about how to message to her. I'm going to go through this a little bit fast because there's a lot of content here, but stop me if you see something interesting. So the first thing you're seeing here is who is she? And we've got some basic bio information. That's great. You could learn this if you had a half hour, but here we are 10 seconds into it, and you already have a good sense of who she is.
Amazing.
Beyond Freshworks, we learned a little bit about her background, where she came from, Lightspeed Commerce, what she did at Lightspeed Commerce before she was at Klaviyo. All of these things are out there. We can look at their LinkedIn. We can look at things published about them. And again, we can come to a narrative about her. And that's my goal here, is to give you a narrative, because it's really easy to understand the narrative. A little bit about Freshworks, what they do in case you were unfamiliar with them. A little bit about their market position, who they're competing with, what the macro trends are that are either blowing in their favor or blowing against them, where the pressure is coming from. Now, this is obviously just a distillation of a much larger body of knowledge, but suffice it to say, here we are again 2 minutes into it, and we're starting to get a sense of what Freshworks might need from you. Recent news, so good job. They're up 15% year over year. Congratulations. They just acquired Fire Hydrant. All this stuff, again, that these are the data points that we're then going to rely on my AI to turn into signal. So should we target Freshworks? Now, the BANT framework, for those of you who don't know, budget, authority, need, and timing. I had a CRO who drilled this into the head of everybody who worked for him. If you don't have BANT, you don't have a sale. And so we need to find the individual who has the budget to spend, who has the authority to spend it, who needs your product, and who needs it urgently, so that this isn't going to be a long conversation. So is there a problem Quanzu solves? So we got a moderate signal. And again, we're not going to go into it too deeply, but suffice it to say, we're not seeing evidence that they have a massive problem in demand gen right now. Now, that doesn't mean they don't. It just means we can't find any evidence. Budget. Are they investing in this area? So looks like Freshworks CFO 2 months ago talked about a one-time increase in marketing spend, which suggests they're going to be spending some money. That's a terrific signal for budget. Authority, is Caddy the right person? Absolutely. She's the CMO. That's a no-brainer, but sometimes you don't know if you're talking to the right person or not. So that's a good signal to have. And then timing, is there a reason to act now? Well, it looks like they have completed this investment cycle. She just joined. They're pushing further into mid-market. So there's no explicit dates that we could find, but we suggest there are some hints that the timing might be right now. So what is the buying narrative? Freshworks is scaling into mid-market enterprise and needs more efficient signal-driven pipeline growth. Caddy is a new system-focused CMO with budget and mandate to modernize their engine. So that kind of encompasses the signals that we saw into a simple narrative that sales and marketing can build off of.
Got it.
So now we're looking at why, and this is where I think it's most interesting. How do we reason about these facts to figure out what's really happening behind the scenes? So we can predict what Caddy's worried about. So likely faces pipeline pressure, likely struggles to connect PLG website and field signals into a single pipeline, likely feels tension between the messy go-to-market stack and all the product segments and regions she has to support. I think that's good for a salesperson to know, but underneath it is something that's probably much more interesting. And so we'll see what it came up with. What's she actually worried about? We'll actually find that she's, that's interesting. One of the things about AI, it's like having a kid who's really good at something, is you can be very proud when it comes up with something amazing. You'll likely find that she's worried about wasting a rare window. She just arrived with an AI era growth mandate and a strong track record. She probably fears if she cannot quickly show cleaner pipeline and sharper ICP focus, people will question her. And she feels the weight of her own story. So if you were to talk to her at this level, about the window you have, and she must have somewhere published something about being a failed engineer and a systems thinker.
Right.
That's the conversation you have to earn her trust and to make her feel
Yeah.
heard. And that's where the
Gotcha.
sale is made. The sale is not made on the previous slide. The sale is made here.
Understood.
We can predict how she thinks, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but the signals are out there to make some predictions. We
Hmm.
can say things, we can script things that might make her feel understood. You're trying to
Yeah.
build a surround sound engine where every AI touch is traceable to pipeline while trimming tools and keeping sales confident you're feeding them real buyers. I mean, if we're right, and by the way, this is go to market, this is marketing, so we don't have to be right every single time, we just have to be right 51% of the time, then you're going to have
Hmm.
a really good conversation with her.
Got it.
And then the last section I'll show you is how to engage Katie. What do you say to her? So, for example, we're going to position Kwanzu as her way to prove her surround sound AI story by turning her messy PLG and web signals into a clean, sales-ready pipeline. It takes
Hmm.
how you position in a generic way and pivots it right to her. And this surround sound AI story, I think that she must have talked about that, or maybe you talk about that, because it's it doesn't put these words in there accidentally. Make sure that there's a reason for it. So we would dig into that. Here's an
Hmm.
email that you might send to her. Now this is a little bit of a template in the sense that it's just for the slides, but
Hmm.
you can tell this is a lot better already than, hey, Dave, you're the VP of Syracuse. Will you take my meeting? VP of Marketing, will you take my meeting?
Hmm.
So this is the problem we predict you have. This is how we solve it in a way that's very, very specific to you. And why don't we have a
Hmm.
conversation? That's much more
Gotcha.
likely to convert than the personal the spin tax, for example, that a lot of people are doing. So I'll
Mm.
wrap it up. You have the voicemail that you would leave to her.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got what you'd ask her in discovery,
Yeah.
what to emphasize for your sellers to convert their capabilities to what she
Sure.
needs, and then
Hmm.
ultimately, how do you close the sale?
Got it. Yeah, no, this is great, Dave. I think now let's get a little bit explain to people, because this session is about vibe coding. Um, Give a little color behind the scenes. Like, how did you build the system up? I mean, to where it's at. I mean, what are the what are the parts, pieces, anything you want to share? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. And what I built ended up being somewhat similar to Clay. I started
Yeah.
building it before I knew about Clay, so I plead innocent. So the way Clay works is it's a database and a prompt sequencer in once. There's
Okay.
a field, you run an operation, or a cell, you run an operation
Yeah.
on the cell. The output comes
Yeah.
in the next cell, you run an operation on that and that and that. Mine's a little different in the back end. I split out the operations and the database. So I've got a
Okay.
database full of data, and then I've got another page where I have all my prompt sequences, or all
Got
my
it.
prompts in a sequence. And so
Yeah.
what I can do is run the prompt on a field for each
Yeah.
row, each individual person, take the output, put it in the database. Next one pulls out the output, runs another transformation, and so on. So at its heart, it's just a prompt sequencer. But what you start to learn when you do these things is you need a lot of variables and a lot of flexibility. For
Yeah.
example, you might want to skip some steps based
Okay.
on the outcome of the previous step. You might want
Yeah.
to choose different models. Like one of the things that I'm a big fan of is OpenAI is good for, I would say, straightforward reasoning. But if you want to
Yeah.
make something customer facing, you got to use Claude, because Claude
Mm.
is the better writer. Claude can think like a human, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm.
So there's
Got it.
different models for different purposes. I've got a web scraper built in. I've got actually something cool called the Wayback Machine, so I can take a homepage scrape from right now, compare it to what it looked like 3 months ago, and infer what's
Okay.
changed at the company. All sorts of
Got
cool stuff. But at the heart of it, it's just like I said at the beginning. It's about sequencing of prompts. And when I say sequencing of prompts, what I'm really saying is a chain of reasoning. And if you
it. Mm.
can distill down your expertise into a chain of reasoning, you can build a tool that helps you scale that chain, that core competency.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. No, that's. I mean, yeah, I think you're right, and that's the heart of how you're able to generate a lot of the output that you are. I'm going to keep going through. I think we have some other interesting questions to talk about, Dave, here. So the next one I have is a lot of GTM tools are looking at lots of AI tech and tools that are out there, right? And they tend to focus, and especially if the tools are supposed to give them back data. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they tend to look at certainly look at the data accuracy, the precision of the data. Um, Now, what is your view on should they be looking at that, or are there other dimensions that they might be missing in terms of how they're evaluating, considering different AI pieces of tech and tools?
Yeah, I think the thing you need to look at is the outcomes as opposed to the precision. Again, we
Okay.
already know that go to market is very fuzzy and we're working with
Yeah.
very limited data. We often can't trust the data. And so the
Okay.
question isn't, does the AI process it perfectly? Does it make no factual mistakes? Well, it might make factual mistakes if our basic facts are wrong, but so would a human. To
Yeah.
me, the bar is, can we do a better job than a person would, certainly in the time allotted to that person?
Hmm.
And can
Got it.
we get a response? One of the very first marketing emails I sent out, or campaigns for my own business,
Hmm.
I didn't tune it right. I wanted the AI to talk about the problems we predicted at the customer, explain that we could solve them. But what it ended up doing was accusing customers of having problems. Like, you've got cash flow problems. You can't hold on to a client. You can't do this. I didn't read it closely enough to see what it was doing, and that caused negative behavior. I actually had people call me up and yell at me and curse at me, saying, "You don't know me. You don't know anything about my business." So the lesson was learned. Again, you have to know what's going out, and you have to have confidence what's going out there. But ultimately, it's about that behavioral change that you're trying to go to. If I had said, "Oh God, I got it wrong," AI is done, thrown it away, I wouldn't be here today. What I knew was that was a mistake, and I fixed it, and I haven't had that problem since.
Got it. Got it. So you basically keep learning, keep growing as you
Yeah,
try different things, as you
yeah,
learn these
and,
AI
one of
tools.
the things I tell my wife is, when I'm doing this, I have to have four hats on at the same time, and it's really interesting. When I'm building a sequence for a customer, I have to have my marketing strategy sequence a hat on. I have to have
Mm-hmm.
my copywriting hat on to make sure that the stuff coming out is good. It sounds human. It sounds real. I have to have my strategist hat on to make sure that it's actually going to advance the customer's needs. And I have to have my programmer hat on, because this is all the interplay of technology and variables and databases and how the AI works, and what will make the AI do one thing versus another. It takes a lot of concentration. And this is one of the reasons why I see other companies coming up where they offer this as a software and basically as a DIY. I don't think this can be done effectively as a DIY, because there's so much nuance and so many things you have to hold in your head at once. So my model
Mm.
is that I'm a service, and this is what
Ah.
goes back to what I said at the beginning. Built all this AI to scale myself. My customers
Mm.
don't ever see any of my software. They don't see any. They don't have a login. They don't have a dashboard. There's no integrations.
Mm.
We work off their target list. I send them over a CSV full of information when I'm done. That's very easy for them to import into their CRM, and that's the
Mm.
extent of it. It fits right into their workflow. And that's because
Mm.
if I tried to build this as a software, it would be impossible, because I'd have to account for every single edge case, and also guide customers through a thought process that might be unique to me, but based on how I built the system, and it just wouldn't work.
Got it. Got it. So clearly, you're focusing on those high value, complex sale, big ticket deals where it is worth that extra investment in,
Yes.
a few dollars, if you will,
Yeah,
per message sequences to do that personalized, kind of call it a high touch, high value, high touch
that's
personalized,
right.
messaging by the account execs.
Yep.
Is where
And,
you're
and
at,
so
and I know you're also helping the SDR teams, but you see the AEs as another audience.
I see it as full funnel. And in fact, here's a great example. So the way my system works is, it starts out by looking at your accounts and figuring out, of the 1,000, where's the most banned, where are the most
Right.
likely ones to succeed. So I've got a customer who works for a big giant company. He's opening up a branch office in a city in Colorado, a brand new office in a brand new city. Uh, and he wanted to know, of the 1,000 businesses that he found on Apollo in the city, which ones should he target first? And so
Right.
we ran the thing through my system. We were able to do research on every single account. We were able to qualify it against his ICP. We were able to then look for the BANT signals within the
Yeah.
ICP, and then look for the specific criteria he has. He wants to
Yeah.
sell to business owners who are approaching retirement. He wants to
Right.
sell to those who are still growing their business. And he wants to
Right.
sell to business owners who are veterans, because he's a veteran and that's generally his connection. And so, of those
Mm.
1,000 companies, we found 30 that are growing, nearing succession, and veteran owned. And the way to think about that is 97% of the leads that he started with were wrong. And
Hmm.
his
Uh, Sorry, folks. I think we'll just wait for Dave to come back. Yeah, Dave.
I'm back.
Keep.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you got to move your mouse every so often, or else you disappear.
Okay. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Anyway, so I forgot my point, but my point was it's not just the SDRs. It's really this reasoning can be applied across the entire sales cycle.
Got it. Got it. Now, we have so many. This is the state of the unit, state of the market, Dave. I'm talking now from in terms of recruiting and hiring, right? And so many. There's so many people out there, senior, seasoned, marketing folks, who are facing the dislocation of their skills because they've been traditional SaaS marketers, traditional SaaS tech and tools. World has changed because of AI. What is your recommendation on somebody who the two camps could be founders, could be GTM leaders, marketing leaders, marketing senior marketers who really want to get deep into this new vibe coding AI GTM thing? I mean, how do they transition into this new world? What are your thoughts?
It's a great question because it's not just a matter of sitting down with your AI and typing. I mean, it is, and I guess you could ask your AI how to teach you how to do it. But when I'm doing the coding, I was never a coder, but I certainly was exposed to it enough that I understand principles and ideas. And usually your AI gets stuck in a loop, and you have to come up with some new ideas to fix it. And that's where it helps to draw on your background. But I would say you start with what is it that I do that could be repeatable, but requires brain power to repeat it. So in other words, there's a lot of people who move data from one place to another, things like that. That's a repeatable job, but it doesn't require brains, it's just pattern matching. The things that I do in marketing are incredibly long chains of reasoning. If you think about what it takes to launch a product or launch a campaign or whatever it takes, long chains of reasoning, but ultimately it's the same chain at the heart of it. The project plan you start with is always generally the same thing across products. You just tick off certain boxes. And if you can think about your role, even as complex as it is, as find the parts that are repeatable, and then substitute your brain with the AI, then you can automate it, and then you can build yourself into something much more powerful. So here I am. I'm still a marketing guy, still doing the same thing I've been doing for 25 years. The difference is instead of doing it for one client at a time or one target at a time, I can do it for hundreds or thousands at a time.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, no, that's you're scaling yourself. I think that's
Yes,
the trick here.
scaling
So
yourself.
it's for each of us to figure out how can we scale ourselves, right?
Yes,
In
that's
any
correct.
dimension, get more value from the time we have. So now I'm going to go on then bring up the next question. So uh, let's talk about you've got all these tasks in the vibe coding setup. You have a process, something you want to automate. You've got these different AI models, Claude, OpenAI, Gemini, Perplexity, and all that. Um, what have you learned about all these different models, and which one is good at what in the context of go to market? How do you think about
Yeah.
the current state of AI models for GTM?
It's a good question, and I'll put an asterisk that whatever I say now will be obsolete in a week because, as you know, it changes that fast.
Yeah.
But I think that so I used to rely on Perplexity for all of my web searching, all of my stuff that was not currently in the AI's knowledge base.
Mm.
Perplexity, I mean, I'm sorry to say, like the quality's gone down quite a bit. So now
Mhm.
I'm using OpenAI. So the best search, the best AI plus grounded search right now is ChatGPT. Much
Oh
better
wow.
than Claude, somewhat better than Gemini. If you tell it to go out and find something, it finds really, really good stuff. I'd say Gemini's hit or miss. I generally use Gemini as a backstop to Claude because I do want to, or to OpenAI, because I do want to triangulate and make sure that, if a fact can be found by both AIs, it's probably a real fact. If it's
Mm.
found by one or not the other, it might not be. Oh, now it's Manny's turn to disappear. Hopefully I'm still here. There we are.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, Claude, like I said, is the best writer and more becoming the best reasoning partner. So I got a little sick of ChatGPT as a consumer because it kept on just giving me these long answers that were completely repetitive and a lot of puffery, a lot of making me feel good about myself, but not giving me real things. So I've switched to Claude for all of my personal brainstorming and thinking because it can reason so well and it tells you the truth a lot of the times. ChatGPT will always tell you your idea is great. Like the Super Bowl commercials were spot on. It'll always praise you. It'll very rarely tell you you're wrong.
Okay.
Claude all the time will tell me I'm going down a blind path, or it just disagrees with me. And I really, really value an AI that will disagree with me. Believe me.
Okay.
I haven't
Got it.
tried Bing yet. I haven't tried Grok yet in terms of using them in my app. But like I said, the market shifts so much that because I can so easily bring in new models, I'll be trying them all the time.
Got it. Got it. Have you had any experience with some of these newer tools that are built on top of these models for helping with automation? Things like Manus AI.
I have not tried that. I had my neighbor introduced me to Cursor about a month ago, and I feel stupid because I was really intimidated by Cursor when I first got started. So I was doing all my coding. I would ask the AI, write the code, copy it, paste it into BB Edit, save it, run it, and go back and paste the outcomes. Cursor obviously makes that incredibly much more efficient. Since then, I've actually switched to Claude Code because Cursor, as you probably know, is designed for people who are massaging the code and working with the code alongside the AI. Claude Code just does it for you. It kind of abstracts that out. And since I don't know what the code's doing anyway, I don't need the IDE. So I've moved to Claude Code and my productivity has gone up in terms of coding by like 10 times. But no,
Okay.
I haven't
Yeah.
used, when I was at my last company, against what I wanted to do, we invested a lot in Clay. Having decided not to invest a lot in Zapier, we wanted to build a lot of automations ourselves. We invested a lot in Clay. I was against it because now Clay owns go-to-market at that company. And Clay, you better believe, is going to jack up the price over and over again. Pretty soon they'll be paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to Clay because they own it. We could have built it. It's just Python. It's just automation. It's not there's not much that Clay is doing that can't be built by a small team of people. Certainly with AI. I mean, like I said, I built it myself. The difference is I'm not going to have to pay them a dime. I'm not beholden to them. And I think that's going to be a big risk in a few years for many companies who went all in on Clay and then discover what the cost is really going to be.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. So let me. I think you did cover then. I think GTM. You covered the different models, what to use for what. What I picked up was okay for search. You like OpenAI. Gemini comes close behind. You look at those two, and then for a lot of the reasoning stuff, you're looking at primarily relying on Claude, is what I heard. Right. So
Yes.
now let's keep going. So now we have a couple more things as we come to the towards the end of the show now. One is talk about fully autonomous outbound, meaning can AI do the complete job of research, write, send out? Do you need human involvement? Is full automation viable, possible, or is that a trap?
Yeah. Full automation is possible for a brief moment in time. And what we have to remember is that humans are.
Folks, sorry about that. Let's just give Dave a minute
Am I
to
back?
join. Yeah, you
Sorry.
are.
I don't know what's going on here. Humans are adaptive, right? And what I mean by that is if everything's fully automated and we're all getting tons and tons of emails and tons of phone calls, what we will do is learn how to ignore them. And the fully automated SDR and AE will quickly collapse because people will learn how to recognize it and ignore it. And then we'll go back to wanting connections with humans. I think we're going to start to think about humanity as a luxury good, as something where I don't want information. I'm not going to trust it from the AI necessarily. I'm going to trust it from the human. I will believe a human. I want a relationship with a human. People buy based on who they trust. I mean, that's the oldest, notion in sales. So
Yeah.
fully automated will work for a brief moment in time until it stops working. And then if you've gone too far in that direction, you're going to scratch your head and say, what do I do next? So what I do is I give my customers the lead. I don't want to be the one sending the email for them. I don't want to be the one running the outreach for them because that's not going to work. It'll work for a brief moment in time and then stop. And then one of my customers is doing the exactly right. He relies on me to find law firms who've had some significant milestone. He's a marketer. And when that happens, I surface it to them, explain the milestone. He packages up a bottle of wine, sends it to the person. That's
Hmm.
not an email. That may be automatable, but because he's doing something different and creative, he's breaking through. So he's not just taking the output and saying, I'll send an email like everybody else. And by the way, I'm guilty of this too. He's saying, how do I take this intelligence and then use it in a way that nobody else does? And he tells
Got
me that he's got a 25% conversion rate. And all he needs to do is figure out who he should be sending wine to, and he's off to the races.
it. Okay, that's a good one. All right, let's just wrap up with the last question. I think you probably already addressed this, which is you've got a done for you service as opposed to trying to automate the whole thing into the software. Let's just finish it up. Any closing thoughts on vibe coding for GTM? Anything? Any key takeaways for people listening?
Yeah, I mean, the key takeaway is learn how to do it. Just like 2 years ago, I was telling everybody on my team, learn how to use ChatGPT.
Mm,
You need to learn how to automate yourself. You need to learn how the tools work. My dad is, what is he? He's born for 78 years old, and he's taking a course in Python. Not
yeah,
because he wants to learn Python, but because he wants to understand what it's capable of and how to think like a Python programmer. Because he knows that if he can think like a programmer, he can tell his AIs what to do and what to build for him, and he's got the edge. So that would be the recommendation: is start to learn how to think like an AI thinks. Start to learn what
right.
it's capable of doing beyond just chat, and embrace it in your job.
Got it. So I'm putting up just the way for people to reach you, Dave. So this sound right? They can reach you on
Yeah, that looks
LinkedIn,
perfect.
and that's
Thank
just
you.
yeah. All right. So folks, that concludes episode 46 of AI GTM Talks. We talked about vibe coding for GTM. Thanks for joining today.